Welcome to Yawn of Ages. Here we leave behind the noisy world and drift gently into the quiet corners of the past. Here, the stories are soft, the pace is slow, and nothing is urgent. You can listen or simply let the words wash past as you fall asleep. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, you're always welcome to subscribe and join me for more sleepy stories of forgotten places and quiet moments in history. For now, just relax, get comfortable, and let's begin. Tonight we will take a calm and peaceful journey through a time that is usually remembered with great intensity. But here, we will walk through it differently. This is not a tale of explosions or shouting commanders, not a story of strategy or suffering. This is about the quiet hours in between, the routines, the uniforms, the endless waiting. It's about what it was really like to be a British soldier during World War II, not in the middle of battle, but in the long, slow days around it. The boots to polish, the letters to write, the boredom, the rain, the tea, the socks. This is the war you don't see in the movies. Let this story lull you. Let it ease you away from the present moment. You don't need to stay alert. The morning comes quietly, gray and a little damp. There's a chill in the air, not bitter, just enough to make a soldier tuck the blanket around himself a little tighter. Inside a canvas tent, there are 5 others still wrapped in sleep. One snores softly. Another shifts and sighs, murmuring a dream. You rise slowly. No rush. You know the drill. It's a morning like 100 others. The boots at the edge of your bed are stiff with mud, your tin mug empty. A letter from home lies folded beside your pack, creased at the edges, smudged with thumbprints, read too many times to count. You pull on your socks, one at a time. Woolen, scratchy, and still a little damp from yesterday's rain. The uniform follows, heavy wool, practical, drab. You button it slowly, fingers stiff with mourning. Outside, someone coughs. A kettle whistles. It's time to begin another day. If there is one constant, one ritual, one true comfort, it is tea. You step out into the morning, boots sinking slightly into the damp earth. Around you, the camp is stirring. Someone strikes a match. A mess tin rattles. The cook has already started the fire. The smoke rises straight in the still morning air. There's a smell of something. Bread, maybe porridge. Or perhaps just the hope of it. You hold out your mug. The enamel is chipped. The tea is dark and bitter, but warm. A cloud of condensed breath swirls in the air as you sip it. Someone nearby mutters, "Bloody cold," and wraps his coat tighter. There are no battles today. No marching orders, just duties, cleaning, checking supplies, repairing things that broke yesterday and will break again tomorrow. It's a waiting kind of day. Most days are. The clink of metal buckles and the sharp scent of polish fills the air. It's time for a kit inspection. You kneel beside your cot, laying everything out: boots, rifle, mess tin, spoon, belt, cap. Everything must be clean, arranged just so. You take your time with the boots. The polish is thick and sticky. You buff it into the leather again and again until it gleams in the soft light. This is the kind of work that passes time, that quiets the mind. Next, the rifle, disassembled carefully, each piece cleaned and oiled. You've done it hundreds of times, but it never feels routine. The cold weight of the parts, the snap of the bolt, the strange comfort of familiarity. Outside, someone swears softly. Their button has come loose again. You glance over and smile. Everyone's uniform has its quirks, yours included. It's time to write back. The pencil is short, nearly worn down to the nub. The paper is thin. You begin slowly with the same words. Dear Mom. You tell her the weather's holding, that your socks are dry, they're not, that the cook made something that tasted almost like stew. You leave out the boredom, the waiting, the loneliness. You mention a dog that wandered into camp yesterday, skinny, friendly. Someone tried to name him Churchill. You fold the letter gently, sliding it into a thin blue envelope. One more thread that ties you to a life before the war. One more anchor. Later, you sit with your back against a crate, pencil in hand, paper on your knee. The rest of the morning is filled with tasks. You scrub mess tins, sweep the walkways between tents, help unload crates of supplies, mostly tins of beans, a sack of sugar, a box of worn socks. Everything has a rhythm. Someone sings softly under their breath. Someone else hums a tune from home. You mend a rip in your sleeve. Rewrap your fingers with cloth tape. Check your pack, then recheck it, then do nothing for a while. There is no rush, no urgency, only the quiet demand of routine. It keeps you steady. It keeps you sane. As the day stretches on, the fog begins to lift. The sun comes through in soft patches, glinting on wet grass. You're sent to collect firewood from a nearby grove. The trees are bare and still. Crows call from the branches. You stack sticks in your arms, the scent of damp moss rising around you. Back at camp, someone has started a fire. You toss your bundle down, warm your hands above the flames. The smoke curls gently upward, and for a moment everything is still. You sit beside the fire. Another soldier offers a cigarette. You shake your head. You prefer the quiet, the crackle of wood, the hiss of a kettle. Just another day, but another day survived. You open your field manual, not because you have to, but because it passes the time. Inside the worn pages are notes, some in your own hand, some inherited from the soldier who had the manual before you. Don't step here during drills. If it rains, tuck socks in your cap. Sergeant likes his boots extra shiny Mondays. The advice is half joke, half ritual. It grounds you. You trace your fingers over a map of somewhere far away. You might never go there. But for now, it's interesting. Quietly so. Someone from HQ has arrived with a camera. It's not often you see one. Most of the war is undocumented for you. But today you straighten your collar, wipe a bit of dirt from your face. They snap photos of the camp, of the fire, of soldiers pretending not to pose. You wonder where the photo will end up. Maybe a newspaper, maybe an archive, maybe nowhere. It feels strange, like this moment matters more now that it's being watched. But once the camera clicks, it's back to normal. The sky darkens slightly. Not rain, just cloud cover. You and two others sit on overturned crates, telling stories. None of them are exciting. All of them are good. Someone shares a tale about a chicken that escaped the mess tent. Another describes his sister's wedding with such detail that you can almost hear the music. It's the kind of storytelling that makes you feel like you were there. That brings the normal world close. Time passes without you noticing. As the sun begins to sink, the sergeant calls for light drill. Nothing too serious. Marching, a little formation, just to keep you fresh. The boots beat a steady rhythm into the earth. Your arms swing, jacket creaking. Breath in, breath out. You don't think about it, your body knows what to do. The sun behind the hill turns the clouds peach. The camp glows gently. Even the drill feels like a ritual now. You know tomorrow might be different. But tonight, this is what you know. Being a British soldier didn't always mean crawling through mud or dodging enemy fire. For many, much of the day was filled with routine duties, menial but necessary. You might be asked to sweep out the barracks, peel potatoes for hours, or scrub out mess tins until they shined like new pennies. Some soldiers were assigned to maintenance tasks, checking trucks, patching tents, sorting supplies. The war machine ran on logistics as much as bullets. Even the smallest bolt had to be in the right place. It could be tedious, yes, but there was a comfort in the routine. And as you moved through the motions, you'd hear the quiet clink of enamel cups, the occasional shout of a corporal, the rustle of papers in the quartermaster's tent. Even in the muddiest trenches or the draftiest barracks, British soldiers found a way to make tea. A small tin mug, a few precious leaves, and a heat source. That was all it took to create a moment of peace. Brewed strong, served with condensed milk or sugar when available, tea was more than a drink. It was a ritual. It brought warmth, comfort, and a sense of normalcy. Sharing tea with a fellow soldier, crouched under canvas while rain tapped above, felt like reclaiming a piece of home. Sleep was elusive. Rarely did a soldier enjoy a full night's rest. You might doze in 2-hour shifts, taking turns with a mate. Sometimes you'd rest fully clothed, boots on, your rifle within reach. Your sleeping place could be a canvas stretcher, a makeshift bunk, or a dugout lined with straw and old crates. In winter, you bundle under greatcoats. In summer, you batted away mosquitoes. There is no rush, no urgency, only the quiet demand of routine. It keeps you steady. It keeps you sane. As the day stretches on, the fog begins to lift. The sun comes through in soft patches, glinting on wet grass. You're sent to collect firewood from a nearby grove. The trees are bare and still. Crows call from the branches. You stack sticks in your arms, the scent of damp moss rising around you. Back at camp, someone has started a fire. You toss your bundle down, warm your hands above the flames. The smoke curls gently upward, and for a moment everything is still. You sit beside the fire. Another soldier offers a cigarette. You shake your head. You prefer the quiet, the crackle of wood, the hiss of a kettle. Just another day, but another day survived. You open your field manual, not because you have to, but because it passes the time. Inside the worn pages are notes. Some in your own hand, some inherited from the soldier who had the manual before you. Don't step here during drills. If it rains, tuck socks in your cap. Sergeant likes his boots extra shiny Mondays. The advice is half joke, half ritual. It grounds you. You trace your fingers over a map of somewhere far away. You might never go there. But for now, it's interesting. Quietly so. Someone from HQ has arrived with a camera. It's not often you see one. Most of the war is undocumented for you. But today you straighten your collar, wipe a bit of dirt from your face. They snap photos of the camp, of the fire, of soldiers pretending not to pose. You wonder where the photo will end up. Maybe a newspaper, maybe an archive, maybe nowhere. It feels strange, like this moment matters more now that it's being watched. But once the camera clicks, it's back to normal. The sky darkens slightly. Not rain, just cloud cover. You and 2 others sit on overturned crates, telling stories. None of them are exciting. All of them are good. Someone shares a tale about a chicken that escaped the mess tent. Another describes his sister's wedding with such detail that you can almost hear the music. It's the kind of storytelling that makes you feel like you were there. That brings the normal world close. Time passes without you noticing. As the sun begins to sink, the sergeant calls for light drill. Nothing too serious. marching, a little formation, just to keep you fresh. The boots beat a steady rhythm into the earth. Your arms swing, jacket creaking, breath in, breath out. You don't think about it, your body knows what to do. The sun behind the hill turns the clouds peach. The camp glows gently. Even the drill feels like a ritual now. You know tomorrow might be different. But tonight, this is what you know. Being a British soldier didn't always mean crawling through mud or dodging enemy fire. For many, much of the day was filled with routine duties, menial but necessary. You might be asked to sweep out the barracks, peel potatoes for hours, or scrub out mess tins until they shined like new pennies. Some soldiers were assigned to maintenance tasks, checking trucks, patching tents, sorting supplies. The war machine ran on logistics as much as bullets. Even the smallest bolt had to be in the right place. It could be tedious, yes, but there was a comfort in the routine. And as you moved through the motions, you'd hear the quiet clink of enamel cups, the occasional shout of a corporal, the rustle of papers in the quartermaster's tent. Even in the muddiest trenches or the draftiest barracks, British soldiers found a way to make tea. A small tin mug, a few precious leaves, and a heat source. That was all it took to create a moment of peace. Brewed strong, served with condensed milk or sugar when available, tea was more than a drink. It was a ritual. It brought warmth, comfort, and a sense of normalcy. Sharing tea with a fellow soldier, crouched under canvas while rain tapped above, felt like reclaiming a piece of home. Sleep was elusive. Rarely did a soldier enjoy a full night's rest. You might doze in 2-hour shifts, taking turns with a mate. Sometimes you'd rest fully clothed, boots on, your rifle within reach. Your sleeping place could be a canvas stretcher, a makeshift bunk, or a dugout lined with straw and old crates. In winter, you bundle under greatcoats. In summer, you batted away mosquitoes. Noise was a constant companion. Distant shelling, snores, the whine of vehicles, or the bark of dogs. But somehow, between it all, you found your pocket of quiet. When the post arrived, it was an event. Soldiers gathered around, hearts hopeful. A letter from home meant the world. It carried news, affection, a reminder that you weren't forgotten. Some letters were read again and again until the ink faded. Others stayed folded in shirt pockets, close to the heart. You might receive a tin of sweets, a pressed flower, or a short note from a younger sibling. Each item was cherished. Marching was a daily fact of life. Whether it was a relocation, a drill, or a routine patrol, the miles added up. You'd sling your pack, often over 30 pounds, strap your helmet, grip your rifle, and walk, and walk. Boots thudded in unison, a sound that was strangely soothing. Hills, mud, gravel roads, all became familiar. Your feet blistered, knees ached. But you pressed on. And sometimes when the sun was gentle and the road stretched through green fields, it almost felt peaceful. Between duties, there were still moments of quiet. A soldier might sit by himself, carving initials into a mess tin. Another might sketch in a notebook or mend a sock. The war waited, but in the meantime there was time to reflect. Time to watch the clouds or the slow wag of a dog's tail. These were the things that tethered you to sanity, to self. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't glorious, but it was real. And in that quiet, many soldiers found something close to peace. You find a patch of grass just beyond the tents. A corporal unfolds a large waxed map on a crate. He traces supply routes with a blunt pencil, explaining tomorrow's logistics, where the trucks will meet the rail line, which hedgerows to avoid, how many miles to expect on foot. The afternoon light is mellow, the air smelling faintly of diesel and crushed clover. You listen, half dreaming, letting the lines and names drift across your mind like slow clouds. Mess call. You cue with your tin, rhythmically shuffling forward. Today's stew is thick with barley and carrots, a welcome change from beans. Someone jokes that the cook must have bribed supply. Everyone chuckles. You sit on an upturned ammo box, knees for a table. Spoons clink, steam curls into the mild air. Conversation wanders from football scores to favorite seaside towns. For a moment, the war feels distant, almost unreal. Evening drill canceled, maintenance instead. You sit cross-legged by your tent flap, rifle across your lap. Bolt disassembled, barrel swabbed, small parts oiled with practiced care. A gentle breeze carries birdsong and the faint hum of distant engines. It's almost meditative. Wipe, oil, reassemble, click. Metal gleams in the low sun. Nearby another soldier hums, "We'll meet again." You smile without looking up. When the rifle is stowed, you pull a dog-eared paperback from your pack. A slim volume of poems passed along from a mate in another unit. On the inside cover, faint pencil scrawls. Read this when the guns are quiet. You copy a favorite line onto scrap paper, planning to tuck it into tomorrow's letter home. Words feel sturdy, like a kit that never wears out. Stand to at last light, a brief period of heightened readiness. You and the section take up positions along the camp perimeter, rifles cradled, eyes scanning hedges, turned amber by sunset. Nothing stirs but moths and midges. The horizon flushes pink, then violet. In the hush, you feel the cool weight of your helmet, the steady thump of your pulse, the reassuring presence of friends on either side. Darkness settles. Tents glow dimly with hurricane lamps turned low. Inside voices murmur, a joke here, a memory there. Boots are unlaced, letters folded away, blankets pulled to chins. You lie back, listening to distant owls and the soft rustle of canvas. Tomorrow is unknown, but tonight is still. Slow breaths, heavy eyelids. Sleep edges closer, gentle as drifting ash. A soft drizzle begins to fall just after midnight. You stir lightly in your cot, hearing the delicate patter of rain on canvas. There is something comforting in it. The way it mutes the night sounds, the steady rhythm like a lullaby. Your breath slows. You pull your blanket tighter, and for a moment, you feel as though you could be anywhere. Not at war, not in uniform, just someone beneath the rain. Dawn arrives pale and wet. You're handed a warm tin mug of weak tea, steam curling upward into the gray morning. You sit beneath a makeshift awning reading a letter from home. It smells faintly of lavender soap. Your sister has drawn a little flower in the corner. She talks of the garden blooming and how the cat has taken to sleeping in the window. It's a small thing, but it fills you with a sense of something larger. A thread that holds your past to your present. Later, boots splash in puddles. The unit moves along a muddy track, heads low beneath slick hoods or helmets. The landscape is soaked, but somehow still beautiful. Green fields stretch into the mist, birds perch silently on fence posts, and the road meanders gently like a stream. Your pack is heavy, but your thoughts drift. Each squelch of mud underfoot becomes part of a rhythm. Left, right, left. You stop for a break near an old hedgerow. Pulling a small field book from your pocket, you sketch the curve of a hill. You aren't an artist, but the act feels grounding. Nearby, another soldier carves initials into a stick. Someone hums a slow tune. You hear a cuckoo in the trees. You press your pencil down just a little harder. The hill will still be there tomorrow, but drawing it now makes the moment last. As the day warms slightly, the smell of earth grows stronger. Wet grass, churned soil, the hint of moss and bark. It reminds you of a walk you once took as a child, a forest trail after summer rain. You remember the crunch of twigs, the hush of trees, your father's hand steady and sure. Now the world is different, but the air smells the same. You close your eyes for just a second, letting memory and present weave together gently. Before turning in, you write another letter. This one goes to a friend still training back home. You write slowly, choosing words carefully. You don't mention the mud or the cold. You mention the kindness of a shared ration, the quiet beauty of the hills, the way the sky looks like the sea at dusk. You seal it knowing it may take weeks to arrive, but you write it anyway, because hope is carried one page at a time. Let's return now to the fabric of things, literally. British soldiers in World War II were issued uniforms made primarily of wool, thick, scratchy, and heavy when wet. The battle dress, as it was called, came in shades of khaki or olive brown, and while it offered some insulation, it wasn't particularly comfortable. The trousers were high-waisted with button flies, and the blouse had a short cut that sometimes rode up when soldiers bent or reached. Underneath, soldiers wore long wool underclothes, thick socks, and black boots that had to be shined with care. Even in the quietest moments, there were rituals: shining boots, folding gear, laying out uniform parts in perfect order. In the lull between assignments, men often tended to their gear. They stitched loose buttons, scraped mud off their boots, re-rolled socks, and polished metal belt buckles until they caught the faintest bit of daylight. In the absence of combat, it was small details that filled the hours. Every soldier had a kit, a collection of issued gear, personal items, and standard essentials. This included gas masks, water bottles, mess tins, webbing gear, and a steel helmet. These items had to be cared for meticulously. A rusted mess tin or an unclean rifle could earn a sharp word from a superior, or even a minor punishment. Soldiers kept their gear clean, not just out of discipline, but because they had so little. There was a quiet pride in maintaining the things you were given. Socks were carefully dried after long marches. Boots were stuffed with newspaper or spare cloth to hold their shape. Soap, when it could be spared, was used to scrub equipment. Men often helped each other check straps, restitch tiers, and prepare for inspection. It was a quiet cooperation that built trust. When soldiers were not on the front line, they often spent time in camp. These camps varied greatly, from sprawling army bases in England to temporary field setups in muddy European clearings. But what united them was routine. Morning roll call, breakfast from a tin, drills, cleaning, rest, and more drills. The comfort of repetition helped many cope with the unknowns ahead. At mealtimes, soldiers huddled in groups, eating corned beef, boiled potatoes, or sometimes just bread and jam. Tea was boiled in large kettles, and its warm steam was a comfort even on the coldest days. Some sang quietly as they swept walkways. Others wrote letters home or played cards. Laughter happened in the smallest moments. Someone slipping in the mud, or inventing a new nickname for the corporal who always frowned. Few things brought more comfort than a letter. Soldiers wrote to parents, sweethearts, siblings, and friends. Some letters were upbeat, filled with small jokes or exaggerated stories meant to reassure. Others were simply quiet updates. The weather, the food, how long it had been since they last received a letter in return. Paper was precious. Ink could smudge. Words were carefully chosen. Some men kept letters they received folded in their breast pockets or tucked in boots, rereading them like prayers. For a soldier far from home, those words became anchors. Music was a balm. Sometimes soldiers carried harmonicas or mouth organs. In some camps there were battered gramophones. A scratchy recording of Vera Lynn might play, or a soldier might hum the tune of "We'll Meet Again" while shaving or folding clothes. There were spontaneous sing-alongs, particularly in safe zones or transport convoys. Familiar tunes stirred memories of dance halls, rainy Sundays, and quiet dinners back home. Songs gave rhythm to the weary heart. Some men whistled while cleaning rifles. Others shared folk tunes passed down from their villages. It was not just sound, it was comfort disguised in melody. As night settled in, soldiers lit small candles, if allowed, or used the soft glow of oil lanterns. There was quiet laughter, a few final stories whispered across bunks, and the rustle of blankets being drawn up. Some men lay awake for a while, staring up at canvas ceilings or the stars beyond. Thoughts wandered, not of battles, but of gardens left untended, of old boots by the door, of the way a particular gate creaked at home. Sleep came gradually, like mist rolling in, no announcements, just the soft sigh of exhaustion and the knowledge that tomorrow would begin much the same. Even in war, comfort was not forgotten. Each soldier, no matter how far from home, cherished their rations, and among the most treasured were cigarettes and letters. A crumpled envelope with handwriting from a sister or sweetheart could lift a mood for days. Men huddled together by the fireless warmth of camaraderie, reading aloud stories from back home or trading smokes for socks. It was in these small, quiet moments that they remembered who they were beyond the uniforms. There were times, long stretches even, when the front went quiet. Soldiers polished gear, repaired boots, and stared across barbed wire into fog. These were moments of eerie stillness, filled with the creak of leather, the scribble of journal entries, or the muffled clink of a tea mug. The unpredictability of war meant that quiet was a gift. In these lulls, soldiers might nap sitting upright or hum tunes from back home. They braided cords, cleaned rifles more out of habit than needed. It was peace wrapped in tension, tenuous, but still peace. British Army meals were humble and famously dull. Tins of beans, corned beef, or dried biscuits were the standard fare. But tea was sacred. No matter the conditions, tea had to be made, sometimes over a makeshift burner fashioned from shell casings, brewed dark and strong in mess tins. When the aroma of weak tea filled the air, it meant a touch of civility in the midst of ruin. Soldiers shared sips from cracked enamel mugs, savoring every drop, even if it was mostly boiled mud with a hint of milk. Many soldiers received hand-knitted scarves or socks from volunteer women back in Britain, part of a massive effort to supply comforts to the front. These items came with notes, often unsigned or bearing only a first name, from Mabel, age 9, or "with love from your secret auntie." Though they may have never met the knitters, the wool carried warmth, not just against the cold, but against despair. Some soldiers kept the notes tucked into their breast pockets for luck. At night, when the stars appeared and silence hung heavily, many soldiers would dream. Some mothers are tending kettles. Some of the wives hang washing in familiar back gardens. Some of the sounds of coal carts in early morning streets. They whispered memories to each other like bedtime stories, curtained pubs, salty chips, rainy alleys, Sunday football matches. It grounded them. It reminded them that this too would end. Sleep in wartime was a fragile gift. Men slept in snatches, propped against sandbags, wrapped in thin woolen blankets. Boots never removed. Dreams were often interrupted by the sound of shells in the distance or an officer's barked command. But when sleep did come, it was heavy. Sometimes a man could sleep through rain or through a thunderous blast only to wake unsure whether he dreamed it. In those brief hours, the world narrowed to breath and heartbeat. Even in war, the body still sought rest, still whispered its needs. Imagine for a moment the quiet dignity of your uniform, woolen, itchy, and just a bit too heavy in the summer and far too light in the winter. The British battle dress was serviceable, if not always comfortable. It smelled of canvas and effort, sometimes mingled with the tinny scent of gun oil or damp wool. A utility belt, wrapped snug around your waist, filled with pouches that clicked softly as you moved. Your boots, stout and leather-bound, were polished when possible, but often dusted with the dirt of France, Italy, or North Africa. You might wear a beret or a steel helmet. Each carried its own weight, both physical and symbolic. Buttons clicked as fingers trembled with cold or tension. You kept your kit tidy. Order was a form of control. When little else could be predicted, you could always align your gear just so. Sleep was precious. When it came. As a British soldier, you might sleep in a tent, a barn, a ditch, or a bombed-out house. Often, your rest came in stolen moments, wrapped in a blanket with your rifle nearby. The earth was your mattress. A helmet might serve as a pillow, and the stars, when visible, offered quiet company. The snores of fellow soldiers, the low murmurs of watchmen, and the distant rumble of trucks became the lullabies of war. You learned to sleep light, to rise quickly, to accept dreams that vanished before they settled. Sometimes there was laughter in the dark, stories from home, whispered jokes, quiet singing. These were the comforts that helped you close your eyes, if only for an hour or two. Even in wartime, tea was sacred. A small metal cup, chipped and blackened by countless uses, was your companion. Boiling water over a small fire, or heating it with a hexamine stove, you'd brew a strong, sometimes gritty, cup of tea. Sugar was rationed, milk nearly non-existent. But still, the ritual brought a moment of calm. You'd cradle the cup in both hands, letting the warmth seep in, watching steam curl skyward. Conversations were softer over tea. Disagreements paused. For a few minutes, the world felt almost normal. Some men carried a favorite tin of tea leaves, wrapped carefully in cloth. Others traded rations just for a spoonful. Tea was not just a drink. It was home, boiled and poured in tin. When letters arrived, everything stopped. The mailbag was almost holy. Soldiers gathered, hushed and eager. A letter from home was read slowly, once, then again, as if the ink itself might fade if read too fast. The paper smelled of familiar things, lavender soap, tobacco, old drawers. Some kept letters folded inside helmets, others memorized every word. When there were no letters, there was the radio. Crackling through static came the clipped tones of the BBC, news, music, or broadcasts from His Majesty's government. These sounds tied you to home. A world still turning far from mud and wire. War meant breakage, not just of buildings or battalions, but of boots, belts, and bodies. Soldiers became skilled at mending. You sewed torn uniforms, patched up packs, oiled weapons carefully. There was a rhythm to this. Small acts of care, stitch by stitch, swish of cloth, snap of buckle. You might borrow a needle from the medics or trade a tin of sardines for new bootlaces. You learned to value a spare button like it was silver. In a world where so much was beyond your control, these small fixes made you feel whole again. Sometimes there was nothing to do but wait. Watch duty, night shifts, sitting behind sandbags as clouds crawled overhead. In those moments, time slowed. Your thoughts wandered to meals, to family, to questions without answers. You watched smoke curl from pipes. You counted footsteps. You let silence settle on your shoulders like an old friend. These quiet hours were not wasted. They were surviving. They were breathing between storms. They reminded you that even in war, there was room for stillness. In quieter sectors, soldiers gathered wood and built small fires, mostly to cook, sometimes just to keep warm. Sitting close, they shared rations, whispered songs, or told tales passed down from their hometowns. These were not grand tales, but simple ones. Someone's uncle's fishing mishap, a joke told for the 5th time, and yet they meant everything. Around those flickering fires, friendships solidified like cooling tin. If lucky, a unit had access to a field radio. From its speakers came distant voices, sometimes commands, sometimes the faint hum of BBC broadcasts. Music played occasionally, warbled but beautiful. The sound of Glenn Miller or Vera Lynn singing "We'll Meet Again" might drift through the cold air, bringing a lump to the throat. Radios were lifelines, not just of communication but of connection. Needles and thread were tucked into many kits. Uniforms tore easily, buttons popped. Time off the front lines meant mending, stitching sleeves, patching knees. Soldiers helped each other, often in companionable silence. Sometimes they embroidered initials or tiny patterns, marking identity into government fabric. In the rare moments between duties, a soldier might unfold a creased letter from home. The paper is worn at the edges, the ink slightly smudged from fingers and weather. Inside are simple words, news of a neighbor's wedding, of potatoes planted, of a child who lost a tooth. These aren't grand tales, but they are grounding. They are reminders of why one endures. The act of reading is slow, sometimes read aloud in hushed tones to others around. Then the letter is folded and placed carefully away, inside a pocket near the heart. The work never ends, even away from the front. Soldiers become mechanics, repairmen, and tinkerers. A boot with a broken sole is stitched by hand. A jammed rifle is gently cleaned with cloth and oil. A radio, silent for hours, is coaxed back to life by steady fingers and patience. These acts of maintenance are not dramatic, but they are essential. They bring structure to the day, focus to the mind, and a quiet sense of control in a chaotic world. Much of a soldier's life is spent waiting for orders, for rations, for letters, for the weather to clear. Waiting becomes a skill, a practiced form of patience. Time passes with cards, quiet conversations, idle whittling. Some look at photos, some write, some simply stare at the clouds. The hours stretch and soften. Nothing happens, and in that nothing there is peace. Sleep is precious, and when it comes hard. In dugouts, under tarps, against trees, curled under greatcoats, soldiers sleep wherever they can. There's no bedtime ritual, only exhaustion and brief surrender. Someone snores, another mumbles. The world outside is muffled, like a lullaby wrapped in dirt and wool. Some soldiers write letters back home by the dim glow of a single candle or flickering oil lamp. Thoughts are slow, carefully chosen. They avoid grim details. They ask about the garden, the dog, the baby's first steps. These words are a bridge, not just for the family receiving them, but for the man writing them. As night deepens, many dream of home. Not in vivid clarity, but in soft impressions. The smell of bread baking, the sound of the wind through hedges, the jingle of a bicycle bell. These are the memories that visit when the body rests and the mind wanders. And for a few quiet hours, a soldier is not at war, but back on his childhood lane, walking past hedgerows as though nothing had ever changed. The day winds down, and the soldier, just like you perhaps, leans back, stretching arms stiff from carrying gear. The boots are unlaced one at a time. The field jacket is folded and set to the side, still warm from the body's movement. There's a moment of stillness. Somewhere nearby, someone's humming a tune, an old song, maybe from back home. It floats over the still, dusty camp, soft as the wind. The sun sinks low behind the hedgerow. The sky turns a delicate lilac. Dinner is simple, just rations. Maybe it's tinned beans, maybe it's stale biscuits softened with hot tea. But tonight it tastes good, because it means the soldier is here still in one piece. The quiet is heavy but not unpleasant. Just still, just real. There are little fires dotted around the camp, low flames crackling, controlled, allowed. Around them, the men don't speak much tonight. They sip from mugs, trade glances. Sometimes a joke slips through, but most just stare into the flicker. Some write letters, others just rest, elbows on knees, heads lowered. A few check their kits once more, tightening straps that don't need tightening. It's routine, muscle memory. And though there's no battle tonight, the air carries the echo of something ancient, the same hush that once settled over Roman camps, Napoleonic camps, medieval camps, waiting, always waiting. A soldier takes out a small notebook, the kind with the string binding, creased from use. The pencil is stubby. He begins a letter. Dear Mom. It begins and goes on gently. Details about food, the weather, a joke another man told. Carefully avoiding anything too worrisome, he draws a little doodle in the corner. Maybe a tank, maybe a sheep, maybe just a smiley face with a cap. He folds the letter neatly, stores it in the breast pocket. A message in a bottle from the edge of the world. These letters, brief, quiet, were anchors. They reminded soldiers who they were, that someone was waiting somewhere, that someone would read their words and smile. The night grows colder. A soldier bundles into a blanket roll, the edges of it rough but warm. He lies down, one hand behind his head, staring upward. There are stars above. Even in wartime, they don't change. Still distant, still blinking, still untouched by human plans or politics. Somewhere, a harmonica plays a soft tune. Nothing fancy, just a few wandering notes that rise and fall with the breeze. And you can imagine it now, eyes fluttering, body heavy, safe in the rhythm of it all. The day behind you, the world hushed. Sleep not as an escape, but a return, a reunion with calm. As sleep arrives, the soldier dreams of riding bicycles on a summer lane, of walking beside a quiet canal, of thick bread with jam and warm socks drying by the fire, of a dog barking in a neighbor's yard, of laughter, of peace. It's not dramatic, it's not thrilling, but it is perfect and safe. The soldier's breathing slows, the fires burn lower, and the camp is now a cradle of dreams. And now, our journey through history comes to a gentle close. If you're still awake, thank you for spending this quiet time with me. You're always welcome to subscribe and join me again for more softly spoken stories from the past. But for now, rest easy, breathe deeply, and drift wherever your dreams may take you. Sleep well. Good night.